Yo, what's going on, guys? The Kitty G on EGTV, and I'm back again with another video. Today is a special video. It's the first of a new podcast that we'll be doing. It will be happening every Monday after the games that take place on the weekend for the Premier League. I'll be gathering us and a couple of Arsenal fans, and we'll be going through some of our winners and losers from this weekend's fixtures. So first, my first guest, of course, is GoonerSulz. GoonerSulz, how you doing in the house?
Very well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We're gonna have two more people also jumping throughout the stream. But people in the comment section, you guys know what to do. If you have anything that you want us to speak about during this podcast, please do hit that comment section and let us know what you think is going to be going on. And also, while you guys are joining us here, hit that like button. We currently have 11 of you guys in the chat. Hit that like button, and also don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Right? But yeah, GoonerSulz, we're going to be talking about winners and losers. But before we do that, let me know what you think about the game, bro.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect sort of response to the criticism, should I say, that Arsenal were getting from our own fan base as well as obviously other teams. And this is what we needed, especially in Nottingham Forest, where they're not the best of teams. They're in a relegation zone at the moment, and we're meant to be smacking them. That's the expectation, especially with how we've started the season. And going from one goal, 1-1 to, the way we've been playing, and then the loss to PSV as well on the week, we needed that bounce back. We needed to kind of put those jitters to bed, and that's exactly what we did. Players that needed the goal got the goals, and obviously there was an unfortunate situation in the game as well, where Bukayo Saka had a knock injury. He seems to be, the way that the media's portrayed it is like he'll be back very soon, but obviously we don't know with these things. So no, I think overall it's the perfect game.
So yeah, this is gonna be a winners losers show. So we're gonna kind of go through it. It's gonna be a control panel, but you guys can definitely give us your takes and let us know everything. We'll try to read as many of your comments as possible. If Arsenal improved their finishing, it would become scary. You know what I think would become scary? If we got the midfield depth, because you see how we are doing with Thomas Partey and Saka, bro. We don't lose. We don't lose games with those two. And in my opinion, if Thomas Partey and Saka stay fit the whole season, we actually might have a chance to do something big this season. And that'll be either the Europa League or the league. But I don't think we're good enough yet to win the league because we don't have that extra little bit of cover in every position. Maybe Reece Nelson's the cover for Saka. We'll find out.
Nah, you know what? He shut me up because when he came on, I didn't tweet this or nothing, but when you like sort of talk to yourself and you go, why did he come on? I wanted Fabio Vieira to come on, but I didn't say it. And then I was like, you know what? Fair play, you shut me up because that. You know what? Nketiah and Lokonga should be looking at Nelson and going, if I want a position in this squad, forget about starting and stuff for a minute, but if you want, sort of to claim a place or a role within the squad, that's how you do it. Because we know he's not going to take Saka out of the squad no matter how good he plays, but that at least gives the manager a headache to at least bring him on for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, or give him a Europa League, start, or a Nottingham Forest game, or let's say, for example, further down the line, when we play Bournemouth again, it could be like a rotation thing, and Nelson's the first player to come into it. So that's how you do it, man. And Lokonga especially needs to learn that. So it's brilliant to see that these on fringe players are still motivated to try and take their opportunities.
Boom. People in the chat, do me a favor, share this to your group chats, let people know that we're live, and also hit that subscribe button and hit that like button if you're new. We also have a new membership program. We currently have 6 members. You can become the 7th member for the mere price of 99 pence. That's literally, you lose more money on a daily basis than that. So come on, right? Let's continue. Winners and losers. The way we're going to do this, once the panel shows up, we're going to actually run through some winners and losers, but I'm just going to talk about some things that need to be talked about after the game. If you haven't heard, Arsenal are linked to some players. There's some transfer news going on, but the biggest thing is Bukayo Saka's injury. After watching that game, are you confident that we might have some cover in Reece Nelson, or are you still very concerned? Because Bukayo Saka's injury is not going to be that bad. It's looking like it's just going to be something for potentially, let's say he misses the midweek game and then he'll be back versus Chelsea. And even if he doesn't start versus Chelsea, it's not that big of a scare because he's gonna still be fit enough to go to a World Cup and everything else. And honestly, I'm an Arsenal fan. I root for him to go to the World Cup. I want him to do well. You know how some people say they don't care about the World Cup, they don't care about England. That's not me. I hope the guy does well, and I would be gutted for him if he missed that World Cup. So hopefully he can make it, and he'll be on that plane if he's fit.
100%. I mean, the World Cup does a lot of for a young player's confidence, and being able to sort of be there and be a part of that squad, to know that you've been given that sort of recognition for how you're performing. And in terms of your first question, in terms of the depth, I think it's too early with Ruslan. We've seen this before where he's come in, he's done something, and then he not falls off, but he doesn't do as well. But in terms of the depth options, this is what I would personally do, is go with Jesus on the right and bring Nketiah into the middle. And that's how I would play going forward. But you can't drop Reece after that. You have to give him an opportunity. Whether it's midweek or against Chelsea, he can't be dropped for one of them, because you can't score 2 goals and get an assist or 2 assists and then be dropped the very next game. It'd be very unfair, especially if Saka is definitely not fit. Midweek, he shouldn't play. Just keep him out of it. I think Zurich are one of those teams we can be even with 1 or 2 rotations and bring a few big players in. So the answer is short term, no. Long term, because ESR is injured, I'm concerned.
Let's go through some of these comments today, because guys, put some W's in the chat. We're going to be going through as many comments as possible. And of course, if you are a member, you will get your comments read out, even if the stream is extreme chaos and I can't see. And we got the wonderful Wax in the building. Wax, how you doing?
Oh, what's going on, guys?
Bro, it's been a minute. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry I'm late, man. I'm flipping. Oh, just running around doing some bits and pieces, man. I do apologize.
No worries, man. I freaking went and got food, got an iPhone charger literally just before the terrace. So I understand how sometimes you might be running random late.
Yeah.
Let's read this. Elneny's back. How you guys feeling about Elneny's return? I'm not gonna lie. I don't trust Lokonga personally. I don't know how you feel.
Elneny's my G. He's my guy. I am so happy he's back. You know what? I am not joking. Out of every single Arsenal player, and I'm even willing to put it in history, he's the most underappreciated player I have ever come across. You know, for a guy that if I was to ask you, tell me within 5 seconds 1 mistake he's made in his entire career, you'll struggle. But if I was to ask you other players, you can name mistakes very quickly what they've made. This guy doesn't make a mistake. He never puts a foot wrong. Yes, he's safety first, but that's what a DM is supposed to be. When you want someone to come in, especially as your backup 6, you just want them to be reliable, do the job. And also, the guy's been a part of some of the biggest wins Arsenal's had in sort of the last 5 years. Don't forget, the first time we beat United at Old Trafford in so long in that 1-0, guess who played that game? Elneny. So people need to put some respect that when it comes to doing a job, I'm not saying he's a starter. I'm not saying he's a world beater. But for the role he's got in the squad to just be put in after 4 months, 5 months, he comes in, for some reason, he's one player that never needs an embedding period. He just comes in and drops 7s. So I am buzzing that he's back, because I know for a fact if he's on that team sheet, I ain't worried, because I'll be like, yeah, he'll do a job.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree. See, Mohamed Elneny, he's one of those guys, he would always put in work. He's one of those guys, he's very, very committed to the cause. He's got great work ethic. And the only time you will see Mohamed Elneny not perform is when the whole team's not performing. If the whole team's slacking, Mohamed Elneny, but is probably a part of that as well. But other than that, I think Mohamed Elneny is a good player, man. I can understand why Arsene Wenger would have brought him in. He's someone that's good at keeping the ball, good at ball retention, great passing him as well. Remember that goal he had for Mesut Ozil in the Champions League?
That pass, yeah.
That was an incredible goal, man.
So I'm gonna just get through some of these comments. Then we're gonna start with our winners and losers and just what we thought about the game. Thomas Partey, though, guys, we know why people aren't talking about Thomas Partey and putting him in the spotlight. But realistically, this guy has been just taking his game to another level. The goals that he's been scoring recently versus Tottenham and now versus Nottingham Forest, and I was right behind the goal. I seen the whip. It was beautiful. Talk to me, guys. How you feeling?
Oh, that Thomas Partey goal was incredible. You can tell he's been practicing hard in training. he's been trying to pull off them shots for quite some time. But I think that's the second one he's scored this season, isn't it? Did he score one against? Was it Tottenham he scored the first one against?
Yeah.
That goal, beautiful, man, beautiful. Thomas Partey is definitely one of the most improved Arsenal players over the past 12 months. I think he's kind of found his identity, he understands what his role is at the club now, and he's just comfortable. You know, you might see one or two shaky moments. You know, over the past kind of 4 or 5 games, we've seen shaky moments from quite a few of the players, but it's just been moments. Yesterday's game proved that. Yesterday's game proved that it was just moments, because we come out absolutely destroyed Nottingham Forest. I actually anticipated a difficult game, because you know their result against Liverpool, they've been putting in some work this season, but we walked all over them, and that gives me confidence to say, you know what, Arsenal, we've got that mentality. You know, we've been questioning whether there's a new culture now. Is there a newfound mentality at Arsenal Football Club? Clearly, after yesterday's result, there is, because you know, we would experience before going down at PSV, losing that game. Maybe the players might just not come out of the tracks in the second game. And I think that was an important result and proved that Arsenal are on it. Arsenal are absolutely on it this season.
So yeah, if we're going to talk about winners and losers, Partey is a big winner in this whole situation. Him and Xhaka, that midfield partnership has been, dare I say it, one of the best in the league. And Wax, we've had a lot of conversations about Granit Xhaka. I know he's doing really well right now. And when he was doing his worst, like literally putting stinkers, I was coming out and I was saying, you know what, this guy could become a Jordan Henderson. This guy could become a key piece of the team when he has better players around him. We're finally seeing that. And you know what? Respect to him. And you must have changed your tune on Xhaka, because I know I've been watching some of your streams.
Yeah, I'm still like, I would instantly replace Saka. Like if you was offering me Milenkovic, Savic, one of these type of dons, Saka, you're on the bench, or Saka, you're out the door. Of course, he's definitely improved over the past, say, 8 months. I think there's been a tweak to his position. We've clearly all seen that he's now playing more advanced. I think he's just a bit more comfortable. We're not relying on him defensively as much as we used to. And you know, we do know when Shaka's in that defensive third, when a pressure is applied, this guy will make a bag of mistakes. But since the tweak, the different type of role he's been given, he has played more advanced. We're seeing a much more unpredictable type of Saka, a Saka that's trying to get into the final third more, a Saka that's having shots, a Saka that is trying to get assists as well. You know, that's one thing that we haven't really seen of Saka. He's had like 3 goal contributions, averages 3 goal contributions per season. This season alone, he has just splashed that all out of the water. Do you know what I mean? So clear improvement, but I personally would definitely bring in someone else, someone with a bit more creative intelligence. If we are going to continue playing Saka the way we're playing him, and or playing who it is in that role, having someone with a bit more creative intelligence, someone that is a bit more incisive in the final third, I think, major difference.
That makes sense. People in the chat, big up everyone. Hopefully you guys can hear us loud and clear. Put some W's in the chat for Wax, and say what up to my guy GoonerSulz in the house. Everyone's saying everyone's pretty much happy after the win, obviously. Shout out to everyone who's joined us over from the Football Terrace. We got to talk about Reiss Nelson though. Did you guys, what was everyone's thoughts when Reiss Nelson was subbing on? And did you ever expect this type of performance from him? Because I thought Eddie Nketiah was coming on, and when he scored the first goal, I was like, yo. And then when he scored the second goal, I was like, yo, this guy's confident. And then he got the assist, and I was like, do we have Bukayo Saka's backup now that has picked up, that came out of nowhere? Was he the mystery winger after all? Like, what are we talking about? Well, I'll start with Sulz on this one.
You know what, man? I'm not getting carried away, because it's not like it's like, you know, if it's a new signing, you're like, all right, yeah, you can kind of get carried away because like, we've never seen this player in an Arsenal shirt. But with Reiss Nelson, he's been at Arsenal long enough that this should be his norm, not now he's doing this or all of a sudden he's doing it. So I'm going to give it a bit of time before I start saying, is he good enough to be a backup, or if he's good enough to even have a space in the squad overall moving forward. Because don't forget, guys, like, we need to elevate our mentalities. We need to, as fans, elevate our expectation of our depth players, because very surprisingly, we've now starting to challenge for the league title. I know it's 11 games in, but if we drop our expectations, guess what happens? The club gets comfortable. But we need to start pushing this club on, because they clearly look at social media. Whether they listen to us is a different conversation, but they definitely monitor what the fans are saying. So if we're getting excited and we're pushing, and this is why I say to people, get carried away, because if we get carried away, the Cronkies have to respond in January or respond at some point and say, do you know what? Here's £100 million in January. Go get me that league title, because that's what the fans want. That's what they're buzzing about. And if Reece Nelson continues with these sort of performances against clubs, he should be performing like 2 goals and assists against Nottingham Forest is a bare minimum. Like when I say a bare minimum, I mean these sort of performances overall, they should be there for players like Reece Nelson. He's not 20. What is he now, 23, 24? So he's got to be making a name for himself a lot bit long before this. But that's how I feel overall.
I'm just gonna say this: the biggest winner on the night was Reece Nelson. So
Yeah.
that's the first winner of the night. So we're gonna do categories, winners and losers, and we're just gonna talk about like some of the topics. So Reece Nelson obviously is the biggest winner of the night. Was he your man of the match, Wax?
Yeah, I would have gave him man of the match due to the fact that he come off the bench and had a crazy impact. I think that was the official man of the match given to Martinelli.
Yes, I didn't get that. I thought Jesus was ahead of him. I thought Thomas Partey was ahead of him. I thought Reece Nelson was ahead of him. People in the comment section, let me know who your man of the match was. But this seems like one of those games where everybody had different man of the matches. I even seen some people saying Ben White was their man of the match. Did you guys notice that?
No, I didn't see it, but Ben White has made a massive improvement this season. Massive improvement. He's one of the most improved players at Arsenal so far this season, and I'm liking him in this right back role, man. I really, really liking him. I think he gets the opportunity to express himself more. We can see as a centre back that he likes to bring the ball out. He likes to play a bit of football. You know, he likes to pass and etc. etc. I just think defensively we couldn't rely on him as much as we could rely on Saliba and potentially what he offers us. But in this right back role, getting forwards, just being the willingness to want to do those overlaps every 5 seconds. Ben White's incredible, man. Improved.
Yeah, he's arguably been our player of the season, in my opinion, because he's pocketed a lot of wing. This is the thing people don't realize. He's pocketed some tricky wingers that we've come across, and he hasn't looked phased. He's probably one of the players this year that I can't really recall anything being his fault, or primarily his fault anyway. But even if you look at the way, like at the beginning of the season, he was a bit weird because he wasn't overlapping the way I'd want him to. But then as the sort of 2, 3, 4 game, it seems like he adds layers to his game every single time I see him play. Like even his cutbacks and his crosses and his ability to just be patient and take a man on has improved. And I feel like, you know what, like Arteta's got, because it's so easy for us to sit here and go, Tomiyasu should come straight back in. But for a manager, that is one of the hardest things to drop a man like that right now and just let Tomiyasu play. Hence why he's having to accommodate him and put him left back. And he's like, I don't know what to do.
Even then, it's questionable because you think, what's going on with Tierney? I know Tierney's playing in the Europa League, but I'm pretty sure I read a report or he come out and had an interview, said he was fully fit and he wants to play as many minutes as he possibly can. So it makes me think, why is he going with Tomiyasu over Kieran Tierney? What do you guys think? Why do you think it is?
Do you think there's an element of protection?
I just want to read this message because it's kind of talking about Kieran Tierney. Big up, Egal. Glasgow. There have been papers the last few days. Tierney wants to go, saying that Tierney wants to go back. Probably not but makes you wonder why he's not getting the start. Why he's not getting started, as Arteta knows he wants to leave. That could be an issue. And I think since we're talking about winners and losers, Kieran Tierney's been one of the bigger losers in this scenario, in the sense that he's not getting game time. And even when we brought on a left back, we took Cedric on and we played him left back. Like, do you get what I'm saying? When we brought off Saliba, we shifted everything and put Cedric on as left back.
I disagree. I think there's a bigger play at the moment. you know, the same way when Martinelli returned from his injury and all the fans were crying that he should be starting and, you know, he should be played more, he should be getting minutes, he should be doing this. I feel like there's some element of that's happening with Kieran Tierney right now, because Arteta has been notorious, or well, not Arteta, but we've as a collective rushed him back or brought him back in, and then 5 games later he's broken down again. So I think what's happening is we're trying to pace his recovery so that these things don't keep happening. And I think the club's trying to monitor what's actually going on, because they've invested for him to be the future left back of Arsenal, like the captain, you know, everything that you relate to a future, like it's on Tierney. So they're probably just monitoring the situation and going, okay, when does it happen and why does it happen?
I fully
And that's how I
disagree.
feel.
I don't think Kieran Tierney is as big as a part of this squad as he used to be. I really do believe he's on the outskirts looking in. And if we were to shift away from him, I wouldn't be surprised, because the way we play with a left back doesn't actually suit Kieran Tierney. He might have the intangibles of being a leader, but he doesn't actually have the footballing ability that Mikel Arteta wants.
I disagree. I do think he does, because there's certain games, like for example, Southampton. I think that was a game he should have started, because you needed someone to be wide to push those fullbacks back and to pin Southampton back to not get that goal that they did to equalise. So there are games where Tierney's sort of ability to just be a wide fullback benefits the team, and having someone like a Zinchenko and a Tomiyasu who can tuck in as inverted wing backs is important as well. To have variety isn't a bad thing. It's just how we use it. So I do think he's got a place. It's just whether Arteta thinks it's going to be his way or the highway, or how it's going to be. Because even Pep does this sometimes. He has a variety of wingers, some who play inside and some who play wide. But it seems like Arteta's playing more with his fullbacks than his wingers being more of the in and outs. So
yeah, it's weird. I've seen Kieran Tierney more or less try and play as the inverted fullback in recent games, like in the Europa League, etc. I don't think he's. I mean, he's probably not cut out for it, but he's not doing too bad. But again, it's not really competitive. You know, the teams that we're playing. Can he do that in the Premier League? Can he play in that role in the Premier League? Clearly, Mikel Arteta likes that inverted fullback role. You know, Tomiyasu's been doing it quite regularly. Zinchenko was doing it. So it's something that he obviously wants to push on with. Maybe he's just testing Tierney at the moment, seeing if he can adapt to the role, giving him maybe a few months, and then makes a determination on whether to keep him or move him on or not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Is there any other L's that you guys can think about? Because in a 5-0 win, you can't really spot too many losers. I'm just thinking, like, because I'm looking at the game, majority of the players.
I have one, yeah, but this is going to be so harsh. All the fans who said fatigue, because I was battering this idea that we're fatigued and we're tired, because people, for some reason, were pushing this narrative that the team's tired. And I was like, it can't be. Because when you're fatigued, you don't press, you don't cover ground, there's certain fundamentals that relate to being a fatigued team. And we had no signs of that. So, and I think this game kind of proved it, because we did everything we were doing in all those other 4 games. And I was saying we were just crap. We just sometimes need to admit sometimes this team can play crap. And that's how it was. And that's what I want to say. The fatigue narrative is just taking a big L.
Okay. Well, Wax, what about yourself? Anything you looked at and you said we should improve on? Because besides the KT not playing.
I mean, what in the game? I mean, yesterday, Nottingham Forest defensively were absolutely all over the place. And I think we took the piss based on their incompetence to defend, to be quite fair. But when I'm looking back at the game now, because I've done a full match review this morning, one thing that worries me is not having enough men in the box. And I know we converted chances, but one thing that does worry me, especially when you go up against teams that are playing with a high line, or a team that's just got a solid back line in general, you're going to want players to always try and press the back line, just trying to be a nuisance, try and cause problems. One thing I'm not seeing as much is our players pressing the back line. Do you know what I mean? Gabriel Jesus, you know, not being in the box when we need him to be in the box. Yesterday, with the Martinelli goal, luckily for Martinelli, he got himself in the right position to get on the back of that cross from Saka. But other than that, he was the only one in the box. Do you know what I mean? So it's just those little things. I mean, we converted, but again, we can be more of a nuisance in that box if we're just trying to get as many bodies in that box as possible. Do you know what I mean?
No, I fully hear that, man. I fully hear that. And I'm just thinking, like, there's not too many takeaways, but Gabriel Magalhaes did make another mistake in this game, and it seems like he always has a mistake in him. Do we have to start worrying about Gabriel Magalhaes? And would you start considering playing Tomiyasu in his position? Because I think playing Tomiyasu in the center back position, I don't want to experiment with that against Chelsea. And in this important Zurich game, I don't want to experiment yet either. Maybe if down the road we can do that in a cup competition, but not yet. Do you guys agree? Because I don't think Gabriel has been bad enough to say, you know what, put Tommy there now.
No, he hasn't been bad enough, but he's just making the odd mistakes. That pass yesterday, he had so much time, so much space. I just don't know why he made that pass. So luckily for us, it led to nothing. Obviously, we took care of it, but it's just those little things, and it's quite regular with Gabriel, isn't it? It's like every game now, there's kind of like he's become the new Saka to a certain degree. He makes up for it. He usually does make up for it for like putting in good defensive, duties, but he's just making too many mistakes, man, and it's questionable.
Facts. Do you have anything to say on that, GoonerSulz, or we're just gonna move on to a Saka update because there was an update about.
You know what? The mistakes are like whatever in it sometimes. You know what actually frustrates me is how much time he gets on the ball and he still can't pick the pass.
Yeah.
Like there's opportunities yesterday where I felt he could have gone long, and he was just there standing there looking around. And I'm like, Martinelli's literally asking you to play the ball for 5 minutes. Brother, when are you gonna? You're looking at him and you're still not making it. Like, and then he goes and passes it sideways, and I'm like, oh, come on, bro. Like, the thing is, I want to credit him, but this season it's so hard because there's so many little things that add up, and it's not even the mistakes that I can like forgive a player for making a mistake, especially centre backs and keepers, because it's so easy for them to do, and it's highlighted because they are the last person before something bad can happen. So, but it's just those passes, man, piss me off.
Another thing I've seen and noticed as well this season, maybe not in the Nottingham Forest game as much, obviously because we dominated the game, but the midfield just kind of going missing. I don't know if it's how Arteta's asking Odegaard and Saka to play, but I seem like when we get hit on the break, it's usually 4 against 4. It's like they're 4 attackers v 4 defenders. Like Thomas Partey might be out the picture due to him tracking back. Saka and Odegaard have pushed so far forward that they're struggling to get back, and now we're under so much pressure. And I think that can lead to William Saliba making a mistake, Gabriel making a mistake, because they're under pressure and they haven't really got that support from the midfield, man. And their thing, like in the game against PSV, there were between the midfield and the defense, there was big gaps. And you've got 3-4 PSV players roaming in that space. And I'm like, hold on, where is Lokonga? Where is Saka? Where is blah, blah, blah? And I think that's a problem for us, because when we are going against them teams like the Man Cities or whoever, they will exploit that and we'll be punished. So we need to look at that.
No, definitely. And I think it's just more of a thing where it's like, hopefully he can just stamp this out, because I feel like without Gabriel, we're a worse team for it. Let's be honest at this moment in time, because we don't have anyone who can play in his position with the same, has the same dominant foot besides Tomiyasu. And I don't want to experiment with that yet. But let's get on to Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka's injuries, God forbid, we thought it could have been a lot worse, but you know what? It's not as bad as we first feared. There's reports coming out that Arsenal that are confident that Bukayo Saka's injury is not as bad, and he could face Chelsea this weekend still. So that should be some good news. And guys, without Bukayo Saka, are you guys as worried as you were a couple weeks ago now that Reece Nelson showed up, or are you still concerned?
Still concerned.
Oh, forget Reece Nelson for a second. He can't stop it. Stop the problem.
Yeah, I'll be concerned. If Saka's out, I'm concerned. We have no real adequate backup for that right wing role. Yeah, Reece Nelson's come on and he's demonstrated his worth in one game, but that's it. Like GoonerSulz said earlier, that's a game we expect him to turn up in. It's Nottingham Forest. Do you know what I mean? It depended on how long this potentially could, he could be out for. yeah, it will be very concerning. If it's 1 game, 2 games, then I won't be as concerned. But I think it's so important that Arsenal in general just go out and get ourselves a new right winger and a few other positions just to give us some depth and quality, man. Like, we need it.
Yeah, people in the comment section, let me know. Are you guys concerned about Bukayo Saka's injury? Because I know I was there, and when I was watching him, it just seemed like he just got kicked a couple of times, and he was just trying to walk it off, and he couldn't walk it off. It's just one of those things where it's like an impact injury, not an actual like injury where it's
Yeah,
like
it's very little bruise, man.
yeah.
Little bruise.
So it's like, how many times have you got kicked and you got a dead leg and you can't really move the same and you got to
Yeah,
go home?
exactly.
That's pretty much what it was. And I think he's going to be okay versus Chelsea. I wouldn't risk him versus Zurich, and I wouldn't be surprised if he played against Chelsea and begged. That's Bukayo Saka for you. This guy, he's an absolute machine. And people need to stop worrying about, oh, Bukayo Saka's playing too much. What if he gets injured? This and that. I feel like there's a lot of fear mongering going on around in our fan base about Bukayo Saka's potential injury or potential decline. And like, you know what? With Bukayo Saka, we also got to talk about that ESR picture. Did you guys see that picture of ESR? Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's seen a picture of Emil Smith Rowe and they're freaking out. It was basically.
I wasn't actually that. I looked at it and I go, I was actually trying to find a comment to tell me what was wrong, and then I'm guessing it's because he looks a bit overweight, but I don't see that.
What picture
Nah,
are you talking
let me show you. There's this picture that came up of ESR on social media, and someone said F, basically stating that he looks extremely overweight. Right?
Extremely overweight. Bloody hell.
Yeah, because of his face. They're like, based on his face, he looks overweight. That's what they're saying.
I mean, he probably could be because he's got a groin injury, so he can't run, innit? And he's just had surgery as well, isn't it? And it's just, I mean, when you're sitting around, man, it's easy to put on weight. I mean, this year I put on so much fucking weight. I need to get into the gym ASAP, mate, I tell you. But, you know, another thing you can tell with ESI, he's always had that baby tap fat. You know, like, I think he's just always had it. It just seems
yeah, I fully agree. I just think that's how his chin always looked.
Yeah, I think he's always had that little kind of.
Yeah, he's never had a chisel look. That's the thing.
Yeah, never.
But also, what you've got to think about, right, is yeah, you're right. Like, obviously, he's injured and he's had a surgery. But you know, because of how much footballers are naturally trained, their metabolism is quick enough to burn that off within a few weeks. So he just has to hit the gym for a few weeks and he'll be back into sort of normal fitness and shape anyway, because their level of training and sort of just their way the body is different to how we operate. So it's not a concern. It's just it's going to be part of his recovery and rehab. And yeah, it is what it is.
You know, speaking of ESR, I feel like I don't want to jinx him or anything, but I feel like he's going to have like not a short career, but he's going to have one of those. You know, you can. Who's the perfect person to use to describe this? I mean, I could probably say someone like Diaby, but
Dele Alli.
No, not Dele Alli. I'm talking about like a career whereby it's just struck down by injury, and you could have gone on and been this guy, but because you're so injury prone. Yeah, even Jack Wilshere to a certain degree, but I think Jack Wilshere lived a little life at Arsenal to the point where he got to see he was consistent with what he was doing. He was a part of there was a bit of longevity with Wilshere. There hasn't been that with ESR. He's been in and out, and we've never seen a consistent run of games with ESR. And I feel like over the next coming years, we're just going to see this guy. Like, I don't know, it's just hard to explain, but he's just going to have not the season, not the career.
I think he's going to be injury prone.
Yeah, he's just going to be an injury prone guy, and then by the time he's 28, he'll probably be playing maybe the championship or playing for a team that you wouldn't have expected him to be playing for because of all the hype that do you know what I mean? It just happened. It just happens. It's like
wasn't the majority of his injuries like growing pains or something? Or
growing pains.
I think yeah.
Oh, growth related.
They're saying most of his injuries have actually come from his
growing.
Growth. Like, yeah, growing pains. So first,
my brother had it because he was small, and then like all of a sudden he just grew.
Yeah, so his groin injury actually came from him growing. His injury back when he was at RB Leipzig came from his growing. So a lot of these things just came from that. Egal, the screen's blank. What? What are you talking about? The screen's blank. You're trolling, bro. You're trolling. Man got me for a second. He got me. He got me. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that. Let's actually look at his injury history quickly. Injury history for ESR. Because bro, when I last checked it, his injury history is not that bad. Am I tripping?
Yeah, because I mean, I thought, yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of like weird little knocky injuries, but like from what I was being told, they're all growth related. But I don't really know. I mean,
I don't know. The last I remember, obviously he's got this groin situation. I thought he had a hamstring problem at one point as well. That will
Okay,
go.
so I'm looking at it right now. You're right. He did have a hamstring issue.
Yeah.
okay.
So let me just pull it up. Let me just pull it up. So he had a groin injury. He had a shoulder injury, head injury, groin, abductor problem, hamstring, groin, rib. So the groin injury has been the same injury. The
Yeah.
groin strain, groin injury, those have been the exact same injury. The
100%.
shoulder and the head, that's freak accidents
Yeah.
that he didn't miss too many time for. But as you can see, the main injuries he missed time for was the hamstring, the groin injury. He missed more for the groin injury.
The hamstring and the groin is a big problem because that affects your ability to run.
Yeah, your overall movement.
And we
But
know
do you think the fact he's now had surgery because it doesn't say he had surgery prior to this one, that could maybe fix the issue?
so this surgery could fix the issue. You're saying?
Potentially, because I mean he's had two, or whatever, or three prior to this one, and now he's having surgery. So maybe I don't know. I mean, I have no idea about medicals.
Yeah, hopefully it does help, man. I mean, surgery is serious when you're having surgery on the groin. So
You know what? People, can you guys tell me if you guys can see me? Because Indiana just sent me a WhatsApp. The screen is blank on his. Like, what's going on? Anyways, let me know if you guys can see me in the chat. And also, it might just be a thing where you need to just refresh your screen, Indiana, if you can't see me, if you can't see us, because I'm on my screen and I can fully see what we're doing. But yeah, moving away from ESR's injuries. To me, you're right. ESR has not been around long enough for him to say he's actually had a decent career yet. He's only really had last season, and he's only really had last season to actually say he was productive. The season prior, he first broke out, but it wasn't really like a big impact. And but neither of those seasons are like spectacular. Do you know what I'm saying? It was a breath of fresh air, but neither of them are actually like spectacular standout. But guess what? With that being said, he's still almost pretty much surpassing Jack Wilshere's all-time Arsenal career goal tally. He's more of a goal scorer and more of a midfielder that scores goals than somebody who dictates play, which we thought he would be more of a.
yeah, I mean, I've always known ESR to be a left winger. You know, people have always said, "No, he's a no, he's a left winger." I mean,
I heard he was an 8 when he first came in, box to box.
You know what it is? It's like it's the winger, the left wingery type of is. It's like one of those ones that do cut inside. He loves to cut inside, so he can be used as an 8 because he's utilizing the same channels. But you know, from as far as I remember watching the under-23s and all, because I used to go to the under-23 games and watch them back in the day, even the under-18s, right? I remember ESR always playing on the left, always coming in, cutting inside, coming onto his right foot, scoring some thunderous goals with his right foot. But it's very different to what Jack Wilshere used to do. Jack Wilshere was more of a deep lying midfielder, you know, who used to make runs into the final third and try and get in behind the defense. But it was more of a central midfielder, so there is a bit of a difference in terms of the type of players they are. But I don't know, man. ESR is a baller, man. He's a baller. Just needs to stay fit, get some consistent minutes, maybe a loan. What would you say? Would you say
no.
Like loaning, like Conor Gallagher. Like Conor Gallagher was a baller. I think even before Conor Gallagher joined Crystal Palace,
we actually need ESR.
He was ready to play for Chelsea, but it's just that we've got so many players in your position. The best thing for you to do is just go back to Crystal Palace. And I think that's what ESR should do. If ESR played for Crystal Palace, he would ball out, he would get consistent minutes, and he'd be playing at the level that we need him to play at in the Premier League.
Bro, I think ESR has a role in this team. I think ESR has a role in this team in that maybe in that Saka role, because think about it. Saka this season is pretty much playing in that positions where ESR would be playing on the pitch.
I'll be honest, I'd
Defensive
rather
on the
Fabio
defensive
Vieira
end.
play that.
On the defensive end, probably not, but in the attacking third, yes. Right? So I could easily see that 8 position become an ESR type thing, but we need to see more defensive awareness from ESR. And then you have the left wing. Martinelli's not losing that left wing spot. You disagree, Wax? Martinelli's not losing that.
Not yet.
Not losing that
not
left
right
wing
now.
spot. But yo, shout out to King Alex Richard says, yes, Wax, is that you? Yes, it is, bro. It is Wax. Shut up. Egal is a goat. Big up to you guys in the chat. Moving on away from that, there's this potential January transfer that we're linked to a Uruguayan. I don't know if you've seen it, but I seen you talking about it, Wax, earlier on your show. Tell me what you think about it. Tell me what you know about this guy.
To be quite fair, I'm not familiar with the guy, but I've done a bit of research on him. Wasn't too impressed with what I was seeing. I mean, it's like 22 years old, playing for Orlando in the MLS. The numbers are all right. I mean, he's got about 17 goal contributions in about 35 games. So the numbers are all right. He's a right winger, apparently. But what I was seeing in the highlights, I mean, I don't know who put these highlights together, but he was giving balls away. The end product wasn't really there. And I just kind of just switched off. I just like, yeah, I'm not even really interested. So I just done the stream. I was like, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
This isn't something that I'm concerned.
This would be the equivalent of us signing a 22-year-old Almiron.
Almiron?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's what it would be. He would.
What, like today's Almiron or the last season Almiron?
Bro, like when he first came in. When he first came in.
He don't want that last season's Almiron.
No, I want this Almiron. I'll take.
No, basically my point is he is going to take a long time to get used to the level of taking the step up. He's Uruguayan. Yes, he's doing well in the MLS.
Can we skip that? Jack Grealish can just slate him now.
Understand the MLS. I know the MLS to a certain level. It is nowhere near the championship. That's what the MLS is. It's a League 2 it's a League 1 or League 2.
It's like League 1 borderline championship level, isn't it?
Yeah. Arsenal are not signing a League 1 or League 2 player, bringing them into the first team and expecting them to be a rotation option. This guy gets signed at the age of 22. He might just get loaned out and never be part of the team.
It's mad though. I just don't see Arteta buying players to loan them out. Otherwise, we would have done that with Marquinhos. I just feel like he's not on it. I feel like they might identify these players based on their qualities. Yeah, you've got this, you've got that. I can work with that. I'm going to bring you in, and then they want the player to stay around Arsenal, to develop at Arsenal, and with hope that they just break straight into the first team. Who is, other than Nuno Tavares, who has Mikel Arteta actually loaned out? And William Saliba, but I mean that was kind of forced to a certain degree. Has he loaned out any young players that have actually come back and been better? I mean this season we're seeing Balogun, Nuno Tavares, and the William Saliba one happened last season, right?
Everyone he's loaned out kind of seems like people who the club wants to leave. We haven't really loaned out too many players that we kind of want to keep. Besides,
I think there's only two like that young that we've not seen is Brooke Norton Cruyff and maybe Miguel Aziz. They're the two that I know were intentional loans. But
yeah, I feel like he just wants to bring young players in and have them around the club to develop them and hope that they can break straight into the first team. If they're not, then potential loans. Like Nuno Tavares, we signed him, and I straight away knew Nuno Tavares needed a loan, but Mikel Arteta didn't, kept him, even though we had Kolasinac, so we still could have relied on Kolasinac till the January, but he kept Nuno Tavares for a whole season, gave him quite a lot of minutes, and then decided to loan him to Marseille.
You know what? We keep talking about players we're going to sign. Who would you guys sign? Because I'm struggling to figure out names. Trossard, people are talking about Zaha. I don't know about Zaha anymore.
Actually, there's two names. Either bring me Rafael Leao, or bring me that. I can't pronounce the full name, but that Kvara guy. Bring me one of them two. And I'm telling you, they are level raisers.
1 second, we got a comment here. Someone here saying, I watched Facundo. How do you pronounce his name?
Facundo Torres.
Facundo Torres. Okay, I did say it right. A lot here in the U.S. and the guy's quality. I'm not really. He's not ready. Made for the Premier League though. He's similar to Rafinha, but Rafinha came from the Premier League at the age of 24. That's true. But Rafinha, where did Rafinha come from? Rafinha came from the French league, so at least he bridged that gap. You know what I mean? To come from Europe, to come into Europe and go straight into the Premier League is a culture shock. Let's be real. Anyone who comes straight into the Premier League, they have a massive culture shock, and it messes with them for a little bit. So I don't know about. I kind of agree with you, Wax. But the thing is, the main thing that negates me is we need players to come in and benefit us. Why are we signing this guy, 22 or not, to not benefit in January?
Exactly. You know what we need to do in January? We need to target Premier League proven players. We need to go down to Wolves, who are absolutely in a shit state right now. Ruben Neves straight away. Give me Ruben Neves. Bring him over.
I agree.
Go to Leicester, also in a shit state. Give me fucking James Maddison. If we brought those players to the club in the situation, the current state that we're in right now, we're pushing on for that title, bro. Like Ruben Neves will solidify our defense, our midfield with Thomas Partey. That will give Saka time to rest, and we can rotate Saka, keep him fit for games that we need him for. And James Maddison, rotate him with Odegaard, being more of a direct player. He contributes how many goals a season in the second half of the season? Something like that will definitely add about 15 goals.
Right, but what about the issue about price? Liel. Come on, Sulz. 100 million for Liel. You think we're gonna get him?
When I signed, I didn't know you meant January. I thought you meant just sign him.
Yeah, I meant January.
Oh, in January, then.
Because Liel's ambitious, even in the summer.
Oh no, he's not ambitious. How is it ambitious? Come on, man. You man are still. Are you man gonna keep this loser mentality forever? And we need to raise the. I'm telling you, raise the bar.
Yo, Wax, you agree with him?
I reckon we could get him later. I reckon we could get him.
Player sales willing. No.
Yeah.
Player sales. No, okay. Let me explain. Let me quickly explain to you, guys, why. Because football markets work on perception. The better your team's doing, even your fodder's worth a lot. Like, think about it, right? There's teams selling off players for 40 million because they won the league title. So as long as we're performing to the trajectory, even if we come second and we push on for a title, they're going to look at it and go, oh, Sambi's decent because he's played a bit of part in there. Look at Morgan Gibbs-White went for £45 million. You're telling me we can't get something?
Bro, we know people scout using FM. He's an FM wonder kid. That's why they signed him for that much money.
That's what I'm trying to say to you. But even if you look at Liverpool, like sort of some of the sales Liverpool have made, they made them on the back of the fact that their team's doing well. So as long as you're doing well, your team's value naturally increases. So if we can get some money from the likes, look, Lokonga is very heavily linked to going to the Serie A. Like AC Milan are interested in him. So bring him in as a swap deal. That'll take off 30 million off his price tag or 25 million. There you go. You've got like a 75 to 70 million pounds that you have to pay in. That's very realistic for us to pay.
Okay. Big up my guy, big man. What you say, man? What's your name, by the way?
You're right, Matt from back in the net. Yeah. Hi guys. You all right?
We're doing good, man. This is Wax, GoonerSulz, meet Matt. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Everyone in the chat put a W in for my guy Matt. Matt, talk to us. We're talking about winners and losers from the game yesterday. We kind of went through that, and now we're just talking about transfers and who we bring in. Who would you bring in January that would make a difference to help us maybe achieve what we want to achieve this season?
See, we've got to be a bit realistic. Like the dream for me, players like Mudryk, Rafael Leao, all these guys, they're not going to leave their club in January, in my opinion, anyway. So we've got to be sensible. And, you know, we've got to look, the Douglas Luiz time that's done. Someone like a Tielemans. You look at Tielemans. I think January he becomes free. You can sign with a club or whatever. So someone like him, I would go for. It's hard. January is always going to be the hardest one because with World Cup and everything like that, it's going to be very tough to sign anyone. And I like to sign players within the league, so there's no adaptation period. But it's hard to think of players within the league. The dream one would have been Bruno from Newcastle, but that ain't happening now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. We got Anas here saying I agree with Egal. He's not coming. That's Lial. He's not coming to us right now. We need help. Get Zaha and Tillemans. Would you guys get Zaha and Tillemans in January, or do you think? I don't think Tillemans and Zaha are scream out Arteta type players. But yeah, Wax, what you saying?
No, definitely not. I think, I mean, Yuri Tillemans, obviously, we do know he's Arsenal are interested. But there's question marks. I think that's the reason why we probably wouldn't have went for him in the summer. There's question marks over his defensive capability. And I think, Mikel Arteta is going to want his midfielders to be able to defend. Zaha, I think we're just 3-4 years too late for Zaha.
Yeah.
It's way too late for Zaha. I mean, he probably could come in and help us push on, but I think there's so much more younger, hungrier players out there that are probably got more of a ceiling than Zaha and probably add more to our team right now than Zaha. So.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the Premier League goal tallies and just looking at some of these guys who are scoring goals because we need goals, right? Trossard currently has 7 goals. Would you guys go for Trossard?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know, to be quite fair. You know what it is? I think we're at a level now where we've built the foundation of our squad. So we need to now add the players to the team that have got Champions League experience, that have got Premier League experience, that have been winning stuff. That's the type of player that I think Arsenal need to start adding to the team now. You know, we've built the foundation. We've got those bits and pieces that all... You know, it's about adding the top-notch quality now. Splash that money and get the best of the bunch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So the Ruben Neves is the Casados. Even Casado, he doesn't have the experience. Bringing him in, do you guys think that would raise our levels, or do you think it would take a while for some of these guys?
But that's fine though, because we've got players who can do the job whilst we embed these players. Hence why we've kind of gone for the model we have, where they're sort of young, experienced. And then what we're going to do is as they get season experience, they're going to start bringing in the next wave of those players that are going to push them out of the club. And then these guys are going to take over and the cycle just repeats itself. And that's what I think Arsenal's got as a long-term sort of plan. So like as Partey's coming to age, we'll start to look for his replacement now, embed them into the team. And then as soon as Partey gets to that age where we need to either sell or he needs to like either retire or he moves on basically, that replacement's ready. And then as that replacement gets older, the next one comes in already. And for me, that's how it's got to be. And that's a model they've got to follow. That's why I hate this narrative that fans have. Just bring someone in January. It can't be that because we do work with limited resources. So if we now spend, let's say, £100 million in January, that is going to affect what we do in the summer. We're not, a team that's going to blow the budget every single year. So we've got to be careful what we wish for. And I don't think players like Trossard long-term are going to push this team to being where they want to be. So the likes of Podence, for example, or a Pedro Neto, or even Guedes would have been a good one for me because he's experienced and he's a goal threat. And he's someone that kind of fits that mold of pushing the team a little bit more further than a lot of the players we're linked to. So that's just the way I see it.
Matt, what are you saying, man?
Do you know what? With me, I get what you're saying, but I feel like I don't want to rush anything in January because I'm looking at how we're doing and I'm looking, and like you said about we don't have a lot of money. So if we can go and get someone like a decent signing that maybe I'm not even thinking of now to just get us over the line, because the main thing is Champions League football. That's before anything else. We said we want top 4. We suffered last season and we want to get to Champions League and then we can then attack the big players. People might think I'm mad, but I think come summer, if we do get Champions League, I think we can actually go for players like Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, and them type. Because you look at it, the age they're at and the profile of our club, I feel like we'll get to that point where it's like, okay, Arsenal are there. We can see what they're trying to do. And you hear pundits and players alike at the moment talking about what Arsenal are trying to do. And I feel like we can get these great players, but we just need Champions League football. I don't want a stopgap. I don't like. That's why the whole Douglas Luiz thing. I was like, please God, no. I do not want that guy at the club. And so yeah, I just don't want us to panic in January. I do want signings, but I don't want us to hinder us come the time when we get Champions League football.
You know what? I'm just gonna say this. I don't know if our fans are expecting 3 signings in January because I feel like people are expecting too much from January. We don't usually do that much business in January. I get it. We find ourselves in a position similar to last year where we feel like we could push on if we sign somebody in January. But when don't you feel like that? When don't you feel like your team can always improve and get 1-2 players? It's
I think
basically
you know what it is. I think that I think the difference is now is that in the past, since we signed Aubameyang, we haven't signed anyone in January with big money. However, since we've signed Aubameyang, every January we've been kind of terminating contracts and trying to overhaul the squad. We've finally got rid of all of that dead wood now. So there should be nothing stopping us from actually adding to what we've already been building on in this January, because we've had to take all those years of just cutting everything down, taking money back, and now we've shaved the wage bill. We've got a lot of money available. We can offer big contracts because we know we're Arsenal. We can do that. I think this January could be the January that surprises us. Like Arsenal go out there and spend another 60 million. It's like, what? Because if you find that we're in a really confident position now, like we've got 2 games left until we get to January, more or less. Yeah, maybe 4 games, right? And we find ourselves top of the league. We are putting ourselves in a position where now, if we can go out and add just the 2 or 3 players that we need, it puts us in a position where we can now push on and challenge for the title. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think top 4 is definitely going to happen.
Yeah,
regardless of January. I don't think January will affect top 4. What January can affect is whether we go on to win the league title or not, which is what I think the club need to evaluate and go, can we? Because this is the problem, right? It's balancing panic signings, which I don't think you need to do. In the summer, yes, there can be panic signing. January, there's no reason. But whether it's panic signing or because we're hearing murmurs right now that the Cronkies are looking at a January transfer plan and they're pushing on Edu and Arteta to start speaking and start getting those cogs turning. So it depends on what their ambitions are. If they just think, let's just get top 4 and let's reevaluate in the summer and get your Rafael Leao's, your Kvaras, your Mudriks, or your sort of top DMs. If that's the plan, I can forgive them not going for the league title now and going and get those level-raising signings rather than panicking. So I just think people need to be patient. Yes, get happy that we're in a title race and all of this sort of stuff, but don't get disheartened in January if 0 signings.
I think this is bad vibes. People were saying we can still bottle it. I don't believe we can bottle it from this position.
No.
The way that we're playing, it's so sustainable. The way that we're winning these games, it's not like before where it's a bunch of Leicester games in the mix with 1-2 good results. Majority of these have relatively been good results. So to say we're going to bottle it, I think we're looking at top 2 finishes easy.
Yeah, I think January can kind of make that determination for us. Whether we're gonna just get top 4 or whether we're going to push on and challenge for that top 2 position or number 1. Do you know what I mean? We just need that depth. It's so important that we get the depth. But like you guys have said, we don't want to bring in any random Tom, Dick or Harry. We actually need to bring in a proper Don. Do you know what I mean? 2 proper Dons to push us over that line. And I think we can give City a run for their money, 110%, man.
The problem with
signings, we would need Saka and Partey to stay fit, Saka to stay fit, and then we could do it. But yeah, go ahead, Matt. You're gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna say, just leading on from that point, we don't have the squad depth, and it's hard because you've got to imagine there are other clubs like we're linked with Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio and stuff like. All these clubs have ambitions of their own for this season. So to go and get these world-class players we want is gonna be nigh on impossible. So, but come summer, when everything's settled, they find out what position they're finished, and we're in the Champions League, which we will be. We're going to finish top 4. Then we can really attack. What I'm saying is, I just think for now, we needed players like Lokonga to step up. He hasn't done it. And maybe now we can try and find signage just to get us over the line. And you look at...
Imagine Jude Bellingham in that 8 position for Arsenal.
But that's what I'm trying not to get too excited here. Let me calm down.
Like a Jude Bellingham will definitely be like a next summer thing, like once we're in the Champions League.
Exactly.
But if
imagine Jude Bellingham in the Xhaka role.
Incredible.
But that's what I'm saying. Right now, you don't want just anyone, because you get just anyone, you're paying them 80 grand a week. They come in, oh yeah, I'm here.
We dodged the bullet on Douglas Luiz, on Arthur Melo. on some of these other signings in the past. Even Vlahovic, we dodged the bullet, don't you think?
I wouldn't even say
I think he would have been different in this team personally.
Yeah. I think he would have been scoring goals. Like I think, I mean, he's doing okay, but it's been underwhelming to a certain degree. And I think in this team, he would have been firing. If we would have still signed Gabriel Jesus as well, can you imagine the link up? It would have been disgusting.
I think he'd push Haaland. That's the level.
Yeah. He would.
Come on, really?
In terms of numbers, yeah, 100%.
Vlahovic is cold. It's just because how Juve play. Listen, Juve are still.
They just don't have that.
Juve are still playing without. They're playing with Alvaro Morata still. Like, come on, like you can't take him serious. So I do believe, Vlahovic would be the closest right now to Haaland in this league, 100%. Let's not forget what he was doing at Fiorentina.
When I say he's clinical,
cold.
He's the same way that I said about Haaland. Yeah, he can just literally plant himself in the box because the ball will come to him. He's the same way. Just let the ball come to him, he'll put it back.
Yeah.
Yo, people are saying I don't know ball. It's not about that. I'm just petty. The guy said no to us. I'm saying fuck off. Like, you know, there's a lot of fans like this. Would you take what's it called, Locatelli, if he just said, "Oh, now I want to come to you guys"?
See, now that would be the perfect January sign for me. Like, you look at it, he's still got quality. As I said, let's not be blinded by how Juve are playing. They're just absolute dog, right? Losing to Maccabi Haifa and whatnot. So Locatelli, you bring someone like him in January, and maybe a defender if you want to. That takes us over the line. Look at last season. I hate to bring them up. I hate the club. But Spurs, you look at last season, January, when they signed Kulusevski and Bentancur, I said, Arsenal, we have to react. Just sign one at least. By us signing no one, that was it. Top four was gone. So it makes a big difference. That will just make sure we get top four. And then with the Locatelli, then you can look and go, all right, cool. You can still bring in a Bellingham. You can still bring in whoever you want to bring. You know, so for me, I want to see some. Oh, sorry. The person. That
we're gonna have to end it here. I'm gonna have to do another one next week. Big up GoonerSulz, big up Wax, big up my guy Matt for coming on. Yeah. This is gonna be a weekly, once a week show. I'm gonna have different guests on. Sometimes Wax might be on, sometimes Souls might be on, sometimes Matt might be on, sometimes some other people might be on. But after every Monday, we're gonna try to do these shows. And you know what? It's been a wonderful one. We beat Zurich on the weekend. We're into the next round of the Europa League at midweek, and then we'll be back for the Chelsea game. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow if there's any Arsenal news or anything going on. But yo, big up, guys. Anybody got anything to say before we go?
No, man. Peace out. Come on,
love and respect, guys. Don't forget to hit that, throw those W's in the chat, and also leave a comment in the comment section after the video has aired. Peace out, guys. We're out of here.